Hey guys, welcome back to Middle Class Reactions. So we have some updates on the ICE shooting in Dallas, and then we're going to take a look at Gavin Newsom having a little bit of a meltdown over ICE. This was 3 days ago, I think, and some laws that he just got passed. So first thing, so we do now know the rifle, at least the kind of rifle that the shooter used. It was a old milsurp, or for those who don't know, milsurp's military surplus, so like old school bolt action rifle. Don't know the exact model yet, but something chambered in 8mm, 30-06, or something like that. So the stripper clip that I showed you yesterday makes a little more sense now. Ash Patel came out this morning. This was 2 hours ago, so it right now is 11:35 my time. So you're looking at 9:30 this morning, Texas time. So this came out today. It says the perp downloaded a document titled Dallas County Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management containing a list of DHS facilities. He conducted multiple searches of ballistics and the Charlie Kirk shot video between the 23rd and 24th. So today's, what's today, Thursday? Yeah, today's Thursday, so between Tuesday and Wednesday. Between the 19th and 24th, he searched apps that track the presence of ICE agents. One of the handwritten notes recovered read, "Hopefully this will give ICE agents real terror to think. Is there a sniper with AP rounds on that roof?" Further accumulated evidence to this point indicates a high degree of pre-attack planning. The FBI will provide further updates when able. So, another lefty shooter. I wasn't going to come out and just blatantly say it yesterday because we were still waiting on stuff. Another lefty shooter. One thing that I do see people saying is that, like, oh, if he was a lefty shooter, why did he shoot detainees and not ICE agents? Because he sucks at shooting. That's what it is. He's probably never been in a lot of super high stress scenarios, much less behind the rifle looking, knowing that you're about to kill people. Sucked at shooting. Plus, I don't know how far away he was for sure yet. The initial reports of the building he was on seemed to be about like 150-ish yards. He was using an iron-sighted, old-school bolt-action rifle with a lot of recoil. It's not that it's a hard shot, but it's not easy. It's not super easy. It's not like, it's not like he had a decent magnifying optic or anything. So yeah, dude sucked at shooting, and he was just slinging lead, and he ended up killing one of the detainees and injuring two more. So that's what you get when you're a lefty asshole, I guess. So he is now, as a leftist, trying to make a point to ICE, has now killed more detainees than ICE ever has in their custody. Great. Good job. Good job, Mr. Lefty. So we'll see what comes of this, but I mean, there's already talks of saying that Trump needs to declare a national emergency over leftist violence. This is the part that makes me nervous when you're talking about stuff like this, is anytime, and this goes left or right, doesn't matter, anytime there's a lot of things happening, it's usually I will say, this would go for left and right, but this is a left issue specifically. But think back to the BLM riots, right? What did everyone who was conservative, who's usually anti-government, what they want to happen? Oh, send the military in. What do they want right now in big cities? Because, I'm not saying this is necessarily a bad thing, but because the crime is so bad, like, hey, send in the National Guard, we have to get a handle on this. And then now that we've had multiple left-wing terrorist attacks, now people are saying, hey, we need to go after the leftist terrorist organization. I'm not even saying I disagree with a lot of that, but what I am saying is we need to be careful, because this isn't, what Trump does now is setting precedents, and, it will follow with the next Democratic president, because Republicans aren't going to be president. They probably won't even win 2028, just because it's the way that elections go. Republican, Democrat, Republican, Democrat. They bounce back and forth. So we need to be careful, because what happens now against the liberals is going to happen to us, the conservatives and the Republicans, when when another Democrat gets in office. So just keep that in mind, guys. I really, really want you to keep that in mind. On this same note, not on the Dallas ICE shooting specifically, but it is about ICE. Let's take a look at what old Mr. Gavin Newsom said. I skipped through. I think you can see down here at the bottom. It was a 6-minute, 47-second video There's 6 minutes of the video I skipped through. It's a 10.5-minute video. A lot of it's just Gavin Newsom gaslighting people, but well, didn't realize I paused it on that. That's an interesting look. But let's take a look, see what he's saying.
Disappear. So I want to thank the legislative leaders for asserting themselves and providing me the privilege, the ability to sign these laws, pushing back at this moment. I thought Jon Stewart said it best. This is not about the pronoun police. This is about the secret police. We're not.
I'm just going to pause right there. That kind of crap right there is what gets people motivated to go, do some craziness. Because what's he referring to when he says the secret police? What's he referring to? He's referring to the Nazi secret police. It's exactly what he's referring to. I'm going to let him keep it. Before I go on this tangent, I'm going to let him keep talking.
Not North Korea, Mr. President. We're not the Soviet Union. This is the United States of America. And I'm really proud of the state of California and our state of mind.
Okay, so I'm going to pause it right here. So he just came out and he said, this is not North Korea or the Soviet Union. I asked AI the question I typed in. What were some policies Gavin Newsom passed during COVID that any normal person would look at as dictatorial? Okay. It gave me some policies, and I asked her for a bullet point breakdown of the actual policies. Stay-at-home order in March of 2020. Blueprint for a Safer Economy is what it was called. It was you can read it. A tiered system that categorized counties by risk level, imposed corresponding restrictions on businesses, schools, and social gatherings. School closures. And I want to be clear. It wasn't that he did this at the beginning when every state was doing this. Okay. At the very beginning of COVID, there were some of us, I was one of them, who was saying like, hey, it doesn't matter if this is the next Black Plague. We don't need to be shutting down. Let people make their own choices. But I do understand where states were like, hey, from a state perspective, we have to take 2 weeks or a month or whatever. I get that. He held these policies for years. That's what made this bad. But let's keep going. The mask mandates that everyone knows about. One people don't know about as much. The vaccine passport system. Proof of vaccination for entry into certain venues and events, which was seen as a form of digital identification tied to health status. I want to talk about, hey, this isn't North Korea or this isn't China or the Soviet Union. What the hell's that? The healthcare worker vaccine mandate. Now, was he the only one who did this? No. Washington State did this. New York did this. Rhode Island did this. Massachusetts. A bunch of places did this. The school vaccine mandate for the COVID vaccine, and then the OSHA temporary standards. This was a big one because this was one to get the blue-collar workers. Enforced COVID-19 safety protocols through California OSHA, including requirements for workplace safety measures and potential business closures for non-compliance. The other thing that can get you is if you're not OSHA compliant, not only can the state shut you down, but insurances can force you to close because you're not OSHA compliant. So I don't want to hear anything from him gaslighting us about, oh, this isn't North Korea or this isn't Soviet Union. This man is a snake and one of the most dangerous people right now in politics because he's so well-spoken. He's extremely, extremely well-spoken and he's smart.
That we're pushing back against these authoritarian tendencies and actions of this administration. ICE is now the largest private police force in the United States of America. And
okay, he's about to explain why he says this, but I just want to reiterate again, this is another talking point that will get people to commit violence, because let's just play this out. If you really think, you really think the government is building a private police force to go after you, what are you going to do about it? You're going to commit violence about it. Same thing with secret police. If you honestly believe that the government is coming up with a secret police to come try to get you, and this is the same thing I tell people why we need to be careful with the fascist and Nazism and all that nonsense for every single thing. Now, when it's appropriate, call it out, but you can't just on every single little thing be like, oh, he's a fascist. Because if you honestly think there's a fascist in office, and you honestly think he's creating a fascist government that's going to come after you, what are you going to do about it? Some people are going to commit violence about it, but let him keep going.
Say private because increasingly it appears to many of us that they have sworn an oath to Donald Trump, not the Constitution.
All right, going to pause here. They are literally doing what the House and the Senate have asked them to do. They are upholding the law. You may not like the law. That's fine. But they are within the bounds of the law. If they weren't, they would already be multiple, like federal, high up federal court cases on this, probably even Supreme Court. They are within the letter of the law. You may not like the law. That's fine. The House and the Senate has to change the law, but they are within the letter of the law.
A private police force whose ranks are going to grow by some 10,000, dwarfing the FBI and DEA. Only comparable staffing and investments are military operations around the globe.
See what he's doing?
That's what Congress, the supine leadership in Congress, provided.
Okay. He just said, in one breath, he said they're a private police, private police because they're not upholding the Constitution. Then in the next breath, he says, oh, well, that's what the Congress is allowing them to do. Okay, if Congress is allowing them to do it, it's constitutional. Sorry, that's what it is. If the Congress passed a law saying that you can do that, you got to change the law. Sorry. You can't say it's a private police. It's not. And this is the kind of gaslighting. This is the kind of rhetoric. This dude's facial expressions, man. I just noticed that. This is the kind of rhetoric that will get people to go commit violence.
Along with the supine members of the Supreme Court that have allowed racial profiling.
First off, no, they haven't. Second off, what he's talking about is the Supreme Court came out and said specifically that what ICE and what those ICE agents are doing is legal. It is constitutional. All right, Supreme Court came out and said it. Suck it up, Gavin Newsom. Like, that's just what it is.
On the basis of accent, basis of location, and skin color.
Okay, that's not what
this
it
is
said,
not America.
Okay.
And so we are pushing back firmly.
Keep in mind, this is the same dude that came out and said that white people are a national threat, and also the same dude who had you removed from beaches. If people wanted to go to the beach during COVID and get some fresh air, to make you healthy, get some sunshine, work out maybe. Yeah, he had the police come and remove you off the beach. That's the person right now complaining that ICE is doing something unconstitutional.
We're pushing back using not just our formal authority, but perhaps the most important authority, and that's our moral authority. So thank you to the members of the legislature. Thank you to the authors of these bills. And it's my honor now to sign into law 4 pieces of legislation that go in effect immediately upon signature.
All right. I'm going to go into, we're going to have AI give us a breakdown of these bills real quick. So bear with me here.
And one on the masking that will formally go into effect January of 2026. With that, let's sign these.
Freaking dog and pony show, man.
We'll get around. All right. AB.
Right here.
You're right
Sir.
here. Okay, you already said it. All right. It's AB 49. It's just.
All right, AB 49. See what it says. So now I'm curious. A legislative bill that requires immigration enforcement officers to provide a valid judicial warrant, a written statement of purpose, and the approval of the school or child care facility superintendent before entering schools or daycare centers when children are not present. The bill aims to protect immigrant children from potential harassment by requiring immigration officials to have a warrant and proper authorization to enter school grounds. Okay, we're going to get off of this AI because obviously it's kind of useless. My first question about that would be like, okay, what if they have already got the parents? They're going to come get the kids to take to the parents. But whatever.
SB 81.
SB 81. Let's see what that says. Prohibit healthcare providers from giving patient medical information to immigration enforcement without a warrant or that's already a law. That's already a thing. It's a national law. And I can speak on this with authority because I work in this system. I'm a program manager for hospital security, but I have to be up to date on the hospital policy and federal policy for this. This is federal law. Like, so the rule is, in every state I've ever worked in, the rule is that unless there's an active felony being committed, guy with a gun or stabbing, shooting, fighting, whatever, unless there's an active felony being committed, a hospital cannot give patient information to any law enforcement agency without a warrant. It's called a HIPAA violation. A hospital can be sued and shut down for that. So it's already a thing.
SB 98.
SB 98. Immigration enforcement notification on school campuses. Another significant. The minimum annual fund level for capital 15. Let's do this because I want a little more detail on it. K through 12 schools and higher education institutions to notify their students, staff, and the wider community when immigration enforcement officials are on campus. And wider community. Schools must send out community alerts when immigration enforcement is confirmed to be present on the school's premises. Are required to see here from entering school campus Christian student without a warrant or court order signed by a judge. Being their kids, I'm actually a fan of that. To create a safer environment for all students by reducing fear and oh, that's the purpose. Okay. Sponsored by State Senator Perez. Of course it was. She's a liberal shithead. The warrant requirement, I'm a fan of. The notification requirement, I could go either way on that one. Parents should know what's going on with their kids at school, so, you know, probably not a bad thing.
SB 805.
Okay, SB 805. Requires law enforcement, including immigration agents and bounty hunters, to clearly display visible identification such as their name and badge number, and prohibits bounty hunters. So if you're a bounty hunter, I'm a fan of this because you didn't have to go through you had to go through a bounty hunter, you had to go through the steps to get your bounty hunter's license, but you didn't have to go through any sort of law enforcement school. So I'm a fan of that for bounty hunters. For law enforcement, ICE or state police or whoever it is, they should probably be required to show a badge number, like a little Velcro patch. But their names, absolutely not. There's name, yeah, their name and badge number I'm fine with. The name, absolutely not, because leftists are insane and will dox you. And now, as we can see, ICE agents are getting shot at. So, no.
And SB 627, the anti-masking law. Thank you.
SB 627. As the No Secret Police Act. Yeah, okay. Most local, state, and federal law enforcement officers from wearing facial coverings. So, the COVID governor, who kept locked down for the longest time, is now saying law enforcement can't wear masks. I find that hilarious and extremely hypocritical, but here we are. He does have jurisdiction over local and state. So those, unfortunately, local and state, they answer to him. At least state does. Now, local, as far as the county sheriff's department, I don't think they do. I could be wrong about that, though. City police, I think they do. Federal law enforcement, he has zero say on what they do. Like, he has zero control over them. So, yeah, that's useless for ICE agents, which is what this targeted. Completely useless. Just a dog and pony show. So, all right, guys, that's what we got today. So, this was 3 days ago. This was, 3 days ago. So, that's what we got today. Gavin Newsom making a fool of himself once again. But thanks for tuning in, guys. Like, share, subscribe, do all the stuff you know you need to do, and I'll catch y'all next time.